Okay, thank you for inviting me to speak. The topic I'm addressing is the need for legal responses. So the question is, does the law have any role to play in ending forced organ harvesting in China? Well, I would say within China itself, there does not seem to be much point. The Chinese Communist Party, as we just heard from the previous speaker, runs the Chinese legal system. The party enacts and enforces laws against others, not against itself. The party is not going to use the law to stop itself from doing what it wants to do. Right now, for many countries, if a person kills someone in their own country for their organs, the person will have committed a crime. But if the person goes to China for an organ harvested from a prisoner of conscience, the person has committed no crime in their own country, and whatever crime they may have committed in China will not be prosecuted. Local laws prohibiting complicity in forced organ harvesting abroad should be enacted, but they also should be general. But there is a trouble with generic laws. They do not send much of a message to China. The Chinese Communist Party, while financing the health system and the military with the sale of organs sourced from prisoners of conscience, denies vehemently that this is happening. Chinese officials typically do not oppose foreign generic laws prohibiting complicity in forced organ harvesting abroad. They just end up saying that the law does not apply to them, claiming there's no such abuse in China. So generic laws, though important, do not get us very far. More pointed are China-specific laws. These laws serve a dual purpose. They help to avoid complicity, and they also point a finger. The more specific the finger pointing, the better. One obvious tool which should be used but has not been used to date is Magnitsky legislation. Under that legislation, which now exists in several countries and is spreading, persons complicit in gross violations of human rights can be publicly named, barred entry to the country, and have their assets in the country frozen. This legislation has been used where it exists for a wide variety of human rights violators in many countries, but it has not been used for those identified as complicit in forced organ harvesting in China. The authorities of various countries which have this legislation have been asked to add perpetrators to forced organ harvesting in China to their Magnitsky Act lists. However, to date, there have been no such additions, and there should be. For all those involved in the transplantation sector in China, in light of the widespread prevalence of forced organ harvesting of prisoners of conscience in China, there should be a reverse presumption. It should be presumed that everyone involved in the transplantation sector in China is complicit in forced organ harvesting of prisoners of conscience, absent clear and convincing evidence to the contrary. What this would mean is no exchanges between the transplantation components of hospitals in China and hospitals abroad, no visiting professorships to the sector in China or from it, certainly no honorary degrees of persons engaged in the sector in China, no presentation or publication of papers allowed from researchers in the sector in China, no training for work in the sector in China, no attendance at transplant conferences in China or allowed attendance abroad from the sector in China, no memberships in foreign transplant associations, no foreigners joining Chinese transplant associations, and so on, unless the presumption is rebutted. The goal should be complete ostracism, absent clear and convincing evidence of non-involvement in organ transplant abuse in China with prisoner of conscience victims. Realistically, the profession has had plenty of opportunities to do this already. This issue is not a new issue and has fallen well short. The failure of the profession to organize its own ostracism means that laws need to fill the gap. Right now, for the health sector in China, complicity in organ transplant abuse with prisoner of conscience victims is cost-free. Huge money is being made with no adverse consequences. Ostracism would impose a cost which would cause a reweighing of the benefits of that abuse. Third, and this is the last suggestion, all states need laws to enforce reporting of transplant tourism by the health sector to the public sector. Right now, we are caught in a vicious circle. We do not know enough about the transplant tourism into China. We do not do enough about transplant tourism into China because we do not know how big the problem is. And we do not know how big the problem is because we do not do enough about it. The only way out of that circle is mandatory reporting. once we see the numbers going to China for transplants, and they are significant, we will see the extent of the problem. Awareness of the scope of the problem will mobilize actors both in China and abroad to do something about it. Do we need the law to end forced organ harvesting in China with prisoner of conscience victims? My answer is yes, we do, but they have to be the right sort of laws in the right places to have an impact on what is going on in China. Thank you.